welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my eyeshadow palette collection for 2021. This is not going to be a declutter, but I just wanted to show you all the palettes that I currently have in my collection and let me know what ones that you would like to see videos on. And with that, we will just jump straight into the palettes. So I have all of my palettes just kind of stacked around here, so we will just start going through the piles and I will show you all the palettes that I have. So first up we have the Wet n Wild and Pacman palette. This is the Game Over color palette. Here is what the inside looks like. This has some really pretty pops of color in here. This isn't a palette that I use all the time, but I do enjoy it for some more colorful looks, and I really love the packaging of this. I'm a huge Pacman fan, so this is just so cute. Next up we have Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette. And here's what this one looks like on the inside. This is another really pretty palette. I really like this one, especially for the summertime. This is another one that I don't use as much as I should, but I do really enjoy this palette. Next up we have the Ulta and Harry Potter collection. So I have all 4 of these palettes. So first up is Gryffindor. And here's what this one looks like on the inside. Some nice pinky red tones in here. And then we have the Hufflepuff palette. And this one has some beautiful shades in here. I especially love this matte yellow in the center. I am a sucker for matte yellow shades, so this one is super pretty. Next up we have Ravenclaw. I think this is my favorite color story out of the 4 palettes in this collection. I just love that you have your more neutral shades and you also have the pops of blue, and then this ghost shade is absolutely stunning in my opinion. So I'm really happy to have this one. And last but not least is the Slytherin palette. So this one has your pops of green. This is a bit more of a grungy tone palette, and it's really unique in my collection, so I'm really happy to have it. Next up we have my Juvia's Place palette. This is the Nomad. So starting with the artwork, I think it is absolutely stunning. I feel like I say this all the time whenever I open this palette or review it, but I just love the artwork. And then the shades in here are so pretty. They are perfect for fall in my opinion. Not that palettes need to be a specific season, but this is one that I would say is definitely a fall tone palette. Next, these ones are fairly new in my collection. I have the iHeart Revolution and Disney Storybook palettes. So this first one is Beauty and the Beast. When you open it up, you have the blushes on the one side and then the eyeshadows on the other. So there are 18 shadows in here. And I have done looks with quite a few of these palettes, so be sure to check out my channel to see those if you are interested in any of these palettes. And if I haven't done a look or if you want to see more, please let me know in the comments down below. The next one we have here is Cinderella. So this one has some beautiful highlighters and blushes, and then a lot more blue toned shades. Super pretty. And then we have the Princess and the Frog palette. So this one has some more pops of color in here. And these beautiful pops of green. I especially love these ones up here, and Bayou right here is one of my favorite shades in this palette. Moving on, this is the Maybelline The Nudes palette. This is, I'm pretty sure, the oldest palette in my collection. It's just a really neutral, more cool toned palette. Just some basic staple shades in here. Next we have the Wet n Wild Au Naturel palette. I'm pretty sure this one is discontinued now, so you can't get it anymore, but I still like to keep it in my collection, especially for this purpley shimmer shade. It's one of my favorite shades in my collection, so that is one of the main reasons I like to keep this palette. Next up we have my Essence Salute Paris palette. So here is what this one looks like on the inside. This one I did a review of on my channel, and it's not my favorite palette, but I do really enjoy these shimmers in here. I think those are kind of the star of the show with this palette. But overall it's just a very light and very soft palette. Next we have the Revolution Reloaded Basic Mattes palette. So this was my mom's, but then she gave it to me, and I do enjoy the palette. I do prefer mattes over shimmers, but I also would like my palettes to have at least a couple shimmers in it. But this one is nice for an all matte look and to pair with other palettes. Next we have my Shared Planet Tiger palette, and this one looks like this on the inside. Has very reflective packaging, so it's kind of hard to see. But this has 12 shades, and I really like this brand a lot. This is the only item that I own from them, but just their mission statement, definitely go check them out. They donate part of their proceeds to help endangered animals, and I think that is just really sweet. And the color story of this as well is very pretty. Next up we have my e.l.f. Retro Paradise palette. I absolutely love this palette. I think it has some beautiful pops of color, as well as giving you your more neutral tones over here. I think it is just very versatile and just so pretty, and I'm so happy to have this in my collection. Moving on to Wet n Wild. This is the Walking on Eggshells quad. Just a pretty basic standard palette. It's not one that I reach for all the time, but it is super easy to just pull out and create an everyday look if I need it. And then we have 3 of the 10 pan palettes from them. So first up we have the Not a Basic Peach. I do enjoy this palette. It's not my most reached for, but I do like it for specific looks. I especially love this matte orange and then this shimmery blue. It was one of the only blues that I had in my collection when I was first starting out, so this was one that I really enjoyed reaching for that. And then this one is one of the newest palettes in my collection. I just got it for Christmas this past year, and this is the Stop Playing Safe. I'm pretty sure this is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Tropics palette, and I'm not sure if you can even get that palette anymore either, but I do really like this palette. I've used it a couple of times now, and it seems to be pretty much the same formula as the other 10 pan palettes, which I really enjoy, and the color story of this too is very pretty. And then we have probably my most used palette in my collection. This is the Rosé in the Air palette from Wet n Wild. As you can see, I have hit 5 pans in this palette. I absolutely adore it. It is a dupe for the Modern Renaissance, which I also have in my collection, but I did get this one first, and I seriously love this palette. I like the formula in it, and just the color story is so pretty in my opinion. And speaking of the Modern Renaissance, here is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. So here's the color story of this one. Again, pretty much the same color story as the Wet n Wild palette, but this one has a few more shades in it. And I just really love the color story of this. This is probably my go-to color story with the more purpley shades, and then you also do have your warmer neutral shades, which I just really enjoy. Moving on, we have this little donut palette from iHeart Revolution. This is Raspberry Icing. And here's what this one looks like on the inside. It's just a nice little 5-pan pinky palette. I think it is so cute. I especially like this shade down here. I've not yet used it on my eyes, but I am very excited to test it out and see how it performs. Next, another new one in my collection. This is the CoverGirl True Naked Peach Punch palette. This one is so pretty. I don't even know if you guys will be able to tell, but the shade right here is absolutely stunning, and it has a lot of different shifts to it. But I don't really know that it's picking up on camera. But this is one that I also haven't used yet on my eyes, but I am very excited to test it out soon. Then we have the Milani Soft and Sultry. This packaging is so reflective. So here is what this one looks like on the inside. It's just a pretty basic cool tone neutral palette. I really enjoy it for more neutral looks, and I think it is so pretty. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the Tartlet Toasted, which is a very warm toned palette. Once again, super reflective packaging. I really love this palette. I think it performs so nicely. This cashmere shade right here is one of my favorites. And I just think this palette is so nice and so pretty. And I'm so happy to have it in my collection. And I'm pretty sure this one was the first high-end palette that I ever bought. So it just kind of holds a special place in my heart for that reason as well. Alright, another new palette in my collection that I have not yet used. I also got this one for Christmas. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. And here's what this one looks like on the inside. Some beautiful warm toned shades. And I have swatched this palette, and the shades feel so soft and buttery. And I'm sure it's going to be pretty similar to the Modern Renaissance, which I absolutely love. So I'm very happy to have this one in my collection. So next up we have the e.l.f. Little Black Beauty Book. This is another one that I'm not entirely sure if you can still get it. But this is a 48-pan eyeshadow palette. And it's not one that I use all the time. I feel like there are a lot of similar looking shades. You guys can see right here the lots of shimmery browns in this palette. But it is nice. I have been enjoying it more recently. Especially these greeny shades and these pops of blue. I think those are really pretty. So I am still happy to have this one in my collection. It's just not one that I reach for as often. Next up we have the BH Cosmetics Nuevo Neutrals palette. This one, the packaging kind of fell apart, so this part comes off now. But here's what this one looks like. This is such a pretty palette in my opinion. I love all of the shades in this. I think it's a pretty versatile palette with some cool tones up here, your more warmy tones, pink tones. I feel like it just has everything for those more neutral days. So I really enjoy that palette. Next up, another new one in my collection. This is the ColourPop Garden Variety palette. First off, the packaging of this is absolutely stunning. ColourPop packaging is one of my favorites. And then inside here are the shades, and then you can see the little succulent patterning on the packaging right here. I think these shades are so pretty. This is going to be one that I reach for a lot in the springtime, I feel like. And the shimmers in here are a little bit more on the sheer side, just from when I swatch them. I haven't yet used it on my eyes, but swatching them, they are a little bit more on the sheer side, but I don't really mind that as much. and I really do like the color story of this one a lot. Next we have my Profusion Mixed Metals Peach Palette. So here is what this one looks like on the inside. This one has some beautiful shades in it. I really like this top row right here. These aren't the best quality shadows I've ever tried, especially these top three. These bottom six do perform really nicely, but these ones seem a little bit more dry, and I'm not sure if that's just because I've had this palette for a while, but that's just something I've noticed with it. But I do really like the color scheme of this palette, and it's pretty easy just to reach for if I want to create a specific look. Next up, we have my Glitter Realm A Whole New World palette. I am obsessed with this palette. This one is one that I use to create so many different kinds of looks. It is just so versatile and so beautiful. I've created more neutral looks, sultry looks, some ones with fun pops of color. As you can see, we got some blues, and this purple enchantment shade is absolutely stunning. And I just really, really, really love this palette. It is definitely one that I highly, highly recommend. Alright, 2 more palettes to go. So they're both from the ColourPop in Disney Designer Collection. This is the first one that they came out with. It's called It's a Princess Thing. This packaging is probably my favorite in my entire collection. I absolutely love it. And here's what this one looks like on the inside. It's a pretty basic neutral palette, but I think it is so pretty, and these shimmers are definitely standout shimmers in my collection. I especially love this Thingamabob shade, and then Ray right here is probably my favorite gold shade in my collection. So I just really, really love this palette and the whole Disney theme to it. And then we have the next Disney Designer Princess palette. This is the Midnight Masquerade. So this one has some beautiful artwork up here. And then here are the shades in this one. This one has a lot more mattes than the previous one, which I do enjoy. The only criticism I have for this is they put 2 pressed glitters in here, which I personally am not a huge fan of. I would have preferred just some more either mattes or shimmers, either way. But they're in here, nothing we can do about it. I really love the Spinning Wheel shade, Mama Odie, Frog and Wife. Those are probably my top 3 in this palette. I think it is just so absolutely stunning, and I'm so happy to have this one in my collection. I wasn't sure I would have these by the time that I went to post this video, but they ended up coming in the mail, so I decided to include them in this video. These are the Rude Cosmetics Roaring 20s palettes. So there are 3 of them in this collection. This is the Neons palette. And here is what the inside of this one looks like. Super pretty shades. Very unique to my collection, so I'm super happy to have it. This one is Reckless. Here's what these ones look like. A little bit darker, grungier shades, but still super pretty. And then lastly we have Carefree, which is more of a neutral purple palette. Again, super pretty. So I just wanted to quickly include these palettes in this collection video so that you guys see all of the palettes I have, and I'm definitely planning on reviewing these ones super soon, as well as the other ones that I haven't yet tried out. But yeah, that concludes all of the palettes in my collection. So that concludes this eyeshadow palette collection. I hope you all enjoyed, and like I said, let me know if there are any palettes that you would like to see videos on. I am planning on doing a video with all of the new palettes that I just got for Christmas, and if there are any other palettes that caught your eye, be sure to check my channel to see if I've done videos with them already, and if you want more, or if I have not done a video with it yet, please let me know. I would be happy to do those videos. And with that, I will see you all next time. Bye!